What the world needs now is more than a vacation. We need to come back to feeling our best selves again. Back to inviting. Back to caring. Back to life. Back to the little bit of Jamaica that's inside all of us. Come back to being lively again. Back to laid back. Back to romantic. Back to fantastic. Come back to making the best decisions you've ever made. Because, hey, we're in Jamaica. Come back to mouth-watering, heart-pumping, breathtaking. It's time, don't you think? Come back to the vibe that comes alive in Jamaica. What the world needs.
All right, so greetings, everybody. Greetings, and peace to you all. It's been a late evening. I know you're almost be saying what's happening out there in the woods, but we are here. Have no fear. Doesn't matter how late it is, we're gonna come on, because that's our commitment. I greet you well. One and all. Welcome to the chopping block. Welcome back to the block. I greet you well. Beverly, I see you're in the building. Steve Nemard, big up yourself. Mario, what's going on, my brother? Blessings to you. Daily, Anthony, big up yourself. Cheryl, what's going on? Val Rose, my dearest, how are ya? Great to see ya. Brento, big up yourself. Sharon Bailey, big up yourself. I trust that you all are doing great. I trust that you all will tell a friend that we're on and that we are live in living colors, right? Good. It's 9:15 on the PM, and we still choose to come on and give you a little update, right? As to what is happening on the floor, on the ground. You know the ground is where we like to be, right? Mario, blessing to you, man. Blessing to you. Blessings. Joan, how you doing? Garfield, what's going on, Garfield? Good to see you, man. Garfield, boy. Let's see if Garfield is going to come back this evening and give us an update as to what's going on over in his neck of the woods. Max Wilson, Jeffrey, how you doing? There's a lot to talk about this evening in the late edition of the Chopping Block. I gather that earlier this afternoon we had breaking news of what? Somebody just sending me a note that the opposition, hi Colleen, that the opposition apologized for referring to labor rights as idiots. Interesting. Amy, how you doing? This is interesting. Nana Christie, what's going on with you? Faye Grant, blessings on you. But yes, so I gather that that the opposition leader would have apologized for his comments to labor rights. No, you know, folks, this is a very serious issue. I know a lot of persons are of the view that perhaps Dr. Clark's comment about Massa Mark is offensive and is tantamount to racist or race baiting. Race baiting has been a long issue in Jamaica. Race baiting didn't start with the utterance that came from what Dr. Clark said. Neither did it came from what Mark Golding said. Race baiting started long ago, way back. But recent memory of race baiting in Jamaica could have easily gone back to the days of PJ Patterson. Yeah. And prior to that, and after that, you could say the same thing on the Portia Simpson Miller as well. So if you want to have a discussion about race baiting, then we can't just narrow it down to a simple few. Race baiting goes way deeper. I know the discussion has been ensuing all over social media for quite some time now. And a lot of persons have, different opinion on the matter. Because there are a lot of persons who have the view that one of the most racially discriminated individuals in Jamaica would have been Edward Seaga. I want us to bear in mind that many years Eddie Seaga would have been the target of such racially charged utterance. I think Edward Seaga went to his grave without being accepted fully in Jamaica as a Jamaican citizen. I think he was constantly and consistently reminded that he was a white man. But let us face some facts, because sometimes we have to have these conversations. Not sometimes. We should have these conversations based on nothing other than facts. And it is sad. It is sad, but facts is where we need to have this discussion. Eddie Seaga was perhaps the first person to denounce a foreign citizenship and claim Jamaica as home. But Eddie Seaga never lived down the accusation of him being a white man. Right? I think he went to his grave feeling so disappointed that for what he has done for this country in terms of giving up his own citizenship to take on Jamaica as home. And that was never recognized. I don't think Jamaicans has ever acknowledged the fact that Eddie Seaga was a Jamaican. I doubt it. I don't think we did. I don't think we have. I think, we've treated Eddie Seaga as a white man. Now, can I blame folks for that? I don't want to blame anybody for that, because if it is that he's a white man, then let us deal with it in that context. The truth is, Eddie Seaga, by way, just a moment there, folks. Let me get some power in this thing here. By way of his color of his skin, could have easily been considered a white man. If you also look at where he was born, yes, we could consider him a white man. He lived with that. Eddie Seaga lived with that for years and died with that burden on his shoulder. Didn't matter what he did for Jamaica and how much he has contributed to the development of this country. He was never seen as a Jamaican. He was always treated as a white man. I'm not even going to get into that part, Donna, Christy, where Massa is something that we as a Jamaican culture would have gotten so accustomed to and would have utilized that Massa slur as if it was a norm, right? As if it was a norm. Yeah, so I want to delve a little bit into that. I also want to look at the disrespect that came from attorney at law or former attorney at law, Miguel Lorne, where he disrespected Sir Alexander Bustamante, one of our national heroes, and literally threatened to remove his statue. These are some serious things. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to delve a little bit in these, and we're going to bring some of you guys on to have these discussions. Stick and stay. We're going to be right back.
It's time to come back. Back to adventurous. Being curious. Spontaneous. Back to where it all began. Dare to be bold. To be fantastic. Come back to the vibe that comes alive in Jamaica.
All right, so welcome back, folks. Yes. So let's delve into this one first. The utterances from Dr. Clarke. There's some in some circles that think it was unfortunate. Some think he shouldn't have said that. You want to hear my view on it? I'm going to tell you what my actual view is, my honest view is. In the context of political bantering, we could argue that it is not meant as a racial argument. Well, let us break that down to some harsh reality as well. It is consistent with members of the PNP to treat members of the JLP as if they're really idiots. They're really just simple black folks. You remember Cousins' comment down there in Manchester, or Clarendon rather, who said he cannot believe that poor black Jamaicans actually support the People's National Party. That in of itself was also a racist, race-baiting argument that was being promoted there. But that was race-baiting. So I wouldn't look at it as being a racist argument, because the other arguments and the other conversation that we have were even more racist than calling a man Massa, Mas Botti, Mas Princell, Mas David. All those are persons who I grew up calling Mas. So I don't know if I was being racially charged when I did that. Doubt that very much. Right? But let us go back to how we treat Eddie Seaga. We treat Eddie Seaga as though he was a second-class, third-class citizen. And the PNP did it with no apology. The PNP did that with no apology whatsoever. Eddie Seaga went to his grave. Went to his grave thinking that he has done everything to convince Jamaicans that he was a Jamaican, and PNP ran with that argument. You remember when Eddie Seaga made reference to the amount of scandal that the PNP had during the 1990s and said the amount of scandal they have was so much that it couldn't hold in a scandal bag. Remember back in those days, the only scandal bag we had was black scandal bag. There were no other color. There were only black scandal bag when plastic bags came out like that. And Winston Babatunde Witter, never forget him. May his soul rest well. Winston Babatunde Witter was the one who championed that argument, suggesting to vulnerable Jamaicans that Eddie Seaga made reference to PJ as black scandal bag. And that was so far from the truth, it's not funny. Yeah. That's what they did. They concoct a story, making it seem like Eddie Seaga class PJ as black scandal bag. And Eddie Seaga had to live with that until the day he died. He also had to live with the fact that a set of Jamaicans, mainly supporters of the People's National Party, never recognized him as a true Jamaican. Such is life. Well, Mark Golding has some questions to answer. I think Eddie Seaga's questions have been answered. He was born in Boston. Fine. He was the first Jamaican to give up citizenship for another country and take Jamaica as home. The question must be asked, though. Is Mark Jefferson Golding? The question must be asked. Is Mark Jefferson Golding parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, ancestors, were they owners of slaves? Ask them the question. It's just a simple question. Did they own slaves in this country? And if so, did they get monies from the state for those slaves? These are very open and honest questions. I see you, Senator Sinclair. Greetings to you. How you doing? Think you might want to join us, man. Why don't you join us, man? So we can ask you a few questions. By the way, folks, I'm going to ask you guys to share. I forget to ask you to share and to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So go ahead and share this in your WhatsApp, in the groups and the various areas, and invite some folks over. But yeah, let's ask the question to Mr. Golding. It's not a hard question. It's a question I think he can answer very easily. It's a question he can answer very easily. Very easy question to answer. Right? So somebody tag him and ask him for me. Blessed Kenroy, how you doing? Joseph, how you doing? Marlene, what's going on with you? Let's see what Marlene is saying here. Marlene is saying Robbie was loved as a white man. He loved Jamaica. That's true. People loved him, yeah. No black leader has ever done what he did for his people. That is true. Our motto is out of, our motto proves that our foundation is not based on racism. Yes, leaders do not do the race talk to gain cheap popularity. Eddie had no complex. Yes. Dr. Clark was joking. I assumed that he was. It was political bantering. He's not a racist. He was taken out of context. I could agree with that too. Mark did not say anything wrong. Laborites have been behaving like real idiots. We disagree on that. He lost it just like any normal person, but must be careful as a responsible leader. All right, Marlene, we're not going to fight you on that. That's a solid argument you put forward there. I beg to disagree when you say he did nothing wrong. Again, you have to put that in context, Marlene. You have to put that in context. We're not going to fight you on that. Chuck Finley, I see you. Chuck is in the building. Blessings to you, sir. So yeah. So I gather that Mr. Golden has apologized. I haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to read it and see what it's made of. Yeah, so that's it. So another cause for concern out there, folks. I don't know if you all saw it. It's the demonstration at I think I might even have a tape of it here. I'm trying to find it to play it, but it's a tape of Miguel Lorne leading a group of Rastafarians to protest at the statue of the most honorable Sir Alexander Bustamante. Yeah, I wish I could play the video. I don't have it here. If you could send me it, Camille, if you could send me the video, I would appreciate it. Here is the email address. If you send the email to that address right there, I should be able to play it. But yeah, the Rastafarians now seem to have a leader. They seem to have a leader. Hey, Salim, how you doing, my brother? Blessings to you, man. Good to see you, Salim. Salim, let's see if we can post this up on the SYMJ, no? Speak Your Mind Jamaica. Folks, for all of you who have not joined Speak Your Mind Jamaica, please go over there and subscribe. I don't know if you guys can find the apology and send it to me via email. I'll gladly read it. But the truth is, folks, the argument that Miguel Lorne is parading around with, talking about classing Sir Alexander Bustamante as a homosexual and also threatening to take a sledgehammer to his statue, I think it is very much ill-advised of him. And my advice to him on public social media is to try not to carry out that act, Mr. Miguel Lorne. Jamaica has gone past that sort of tribal type of behavior. I don't know if Miguel realized that we have come a far way. He accuses Bustamante of being the one to lock up Rastafarians. And I can't deny it because the facts is the facts. So I have to just deal with the facts. Yes, there were some Rastafarians back in the 60s who were arrested. And as history will have it, rightfully so. The image they portrayed at the time was that of an enemy of the state. You have to remember what took place, you know, for those of you younger ones who don't remember what took place. Let me see if I can bring you up to speed. Claudius Henry was the first Jamaican to be tried for treason, and the first and only Jamaicans to be sentenced to prison for treason. Claudius Henry. Now, for those of you who don't know, and I'm going to break it down very simple. A lot of people believe that it is the Jamaica Labour Party who has been hostile against Rastafarians, and that's not true. It's not true. And we must dismiss these things because it is not true. The Rastafarians back in the days were displaying themselves as enemies of the state. And if anybody go back to the day, I'm not talking about Rastas today, because the truth is the Rastafarian movement has evolved. And I think majority of Rastafarians now understand that their culture exists among other cultures in Jamaica. But the truth is, Rastafarians back in the days demonstrate a posture that makes them believe that they have a sense of entitlement. They also behave as though the laws of the land had nothing to do with them. They had no respect for law and order. And that was how Rastafarians back in the days operated. Mark you, I'm saying that that has changed significantly. However, there are still a few who believe that. So now a person like Miguel Law now taking a group of Rastafarians down to Bustamante's statue, threatening to dismantle it. I think he's barking up the wrong tree. And I'm saying that with great humility. I think Miguel Lorne is barking up the wrong tree. The other thing is, I don't think Miguel understands that he cannot rewrite history. History speaks for itself. It was the People's National Party, Norman Manley. He didn't just lock up Rastafarians. They hung them. We can accuse Buster's government at the time for locking up some unruly Rastafarians that existed at the time. But we must give credit and we must put the blame squarely where it belongs. It was under Norman Manley, Premier Manley, that Rastafarians got hung in this country. So one political party locked them up and one political party broke their necks. You have to understand. If you want to call it persecution, then go right ahead. But the action against Rastafarians did not start with Bustamante. It started with Norman Manley. Thank you, Senator Sinclair. Yeah. Senator Sinclair is saying that they destroy the Manley government would have destroyed a Rasta compound. Yes. Yes. So I'm simply saying to you, that Rasta came under pressure from before Buster came in as Prime Minister. They started under Norman Manley. But let us put a spade and call a spade a spade. Norman Manley didn't get up one morning out of his crazy mind and say, let us just hang some Rasta. No, there was a reason for that. Well-thinking Rastafarians today can denounce that activities back then because they are different today. But we cannot deny the reality that back in those days, there were a specific group of Rastafarians who attempt to overthrow the Norman Manley, Premier Manley government. You won't hear the Rasta tell you that. You won't hear the Rasta tell you about the weapons that were stockpiled to fight against the state. You will not hear that. Miguel Lawn will not tell you these things. Miguel Lawn will not tell you that Rastafarians moved to Carl Gardens, capture land and properties, and when they were being served a summon by the court for them to exit the premises, they killed the police officers who came, killed the gas station owner, and threatened to burn down every gas station in Jamaica and burn every cane field. These were actual things that were done by a group of unruly people parading as Rasta. The Rasta movement at the time was extremely hostile to the state. I think Rastafarians have evolved. I think they have come a far way. I think Rastafarians, not just culturally, but they would have contributed to Jamaica in a very successful way in terms of their contribution to the culture, again, music, and just the lifestyle. You know, the Rasta is love. But I just wanted to bring that into context so persons don't leave thinking that for some reason it was Bustamante who just get up and lock up Rasta. When Norman Manley hung some of those guys, it was because of treacherous activities that were detected. They wrote a letter to Cuba seeking assistance. And they were basically saying to Castro at the time, because Castro just overthrew Batistuta in the 50s. And they were now asking Cuba to come and take over Jamaica as well. So it tells you of the sort of action that was needed to sort of suppress these uprisings. Now I see this happening now, and I'm saying to myself, there has to be some action to calm this down because it might just get out of hand, and we don't want that. All right? So let us pay attention to it. I think Senator, Senator is saying if him thinking bad, make him do it. my thing is, Senator, I think we should not take any threat lightly. He said it in his own words that that Bustamante is a faggot, I guess. And this time they come peacefully, but the next time they're gonna come with a sledgehammer. That's what he said. And if I understand what he's saying, he's basically saying that they wouldn't have a problem with removing the guy. I don't know how that would sit with the state, Senator Sinclair. I don't know how tearing down a national monument that depicts the image of a national hero I don't know how that would sit with the. I don't know how it would sit with the population, with Jamaicans. I think Miguel would find himself in some deep, deep trouble. Right? I don't know how that would sit. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can play this here for you guys. I won't be able to play the video, but I have a small clip here of the audio. Well, you hear it. I don't know if I have to say any more than that. But he said it. He said it in the most disgraceful and disrespectful way. As a man who sat on the bar association, the bar, who sat the bar, passed the bar, and represented the lawyer. That is how he behaved. That's how he behaved. Disgraceful, to say the least. Somebody said, prisoner hang over my head. I don't know why he's so upset and angry. But Miguel, I used to listen to Miguel back in the days when he was on RFM. And it was somebody I had utmost respect for. But when we become so radical and motivated, whether by politics or anything, you lose respect. And I've lost every respect I had for that guy. Those utterances today was unbecoming of a man who is as educated as he's supposed to be. Disgraceful, the least I can say about those utterances. Yeah? That was Miguel Lawn for you. So he's going to come back with a sledgehammer, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. Stick and stay, folks. We're going to come right back.
We'd like to invite you to come back. Back to playful. Back to adventurous. Back to back to the little things that can have a big impact. It's time. Come back to the way you always imagined it. In Jamaica.
All right, so welcome back, folks. Yes, so another person are asking what is the motive behind Miguel's campaign. Well, you know, in Jamaica, you can't put anything above politics because we're a heavily politicized and politically charged society. And Senator, you can say that, you know, with some level of authority. Senator is saying that that's unbecoming of Miguel. I agree with you, Senator. And the fact that you both share the same profession, I know that must be hurtful. Hearing a colleague of yours who is supposed to be viewed as someone of high integrity and high morals to be coming out sounding that way. I think that should be disturbing to you. Yeah, unbecoming. There's another as you know, today we continue to tour the constituency and the divisions in the West, in Westmoreland in particular. And today was absolutely no different. Today was absolutely no different. We were in the Little London area and we walked the ground. This is, of course, a part of the Western Westmoreland constituency. And the member of parliament there is none other than Marlon Wilson. Marlon Wilson is the member of parliament, and of course, his councillor, caretaker. I think he has one sitting councillor, Mr. Murray, and his other caretakers, Basil Duba Thompson, Coke, who is in the Little London area that went today. Last week I told you that the Grange Hill division where we toured would have been a shining example of how a caretaker is supposed to know his or her division. Duba Thompson, Basil that is, was a striking example of how you should know your division. Mark, we did not tour the entire division, but the areas that he took us through, I could tell you that the guy knows the area very well. Today was almost similar. I didn't get a chance to tour the entire area, but the little I gather was that Coke seemed to be very popular and has his fingers on the pulse of the division. I encountered a few disgruntled Labourites who wanted to speak with the member of parliament, and they so did. Member of parliament didn't shy away. He came and he spoke to them. There were issues that some of these constituents were having, and I think those issues would have been adequately addressed by both parties. And when we left that area, I was comfortable and is comfortable that they're going to have discussions and resolve the little outstanding issue. But what was surprising to me, though, is that I slipped myself in the position as a pollster for a moment. And I said to myself, if I was a pollster who came in to get some samples and I walked through this area and I asked the type of questions that the pollsters had asked, I am not surprised that they would have gotten the response they got. Because the truth and the fact of the matter is that people are extremely disgruntled. But when you look at what makes these people uncomfortable and disgruntled, sometimes you have to shake your head and wonder, is this for real? Some of the things are so simple. It's not funny. But what I took away from that discussion and the discussions I've had today, though, is that most of the persons who are disgruntled, one, they are Labour Party, strong Labour Party supporters. And they did not appear to me like they are ready to give that up. But they are upset and angry. What was also surprising, the sort of assistance that they're asking for. I brought it to the attention of some senior people some time ago about the shift in the demographic of Jamaican voters. And I said to them that the Jamaican voting population today is different from what it was 20 years ago. I do not think that the vast majority of voters are so overly concerned about bread and butter issue. I think most persons are now more concerned about broader issues, issues that can impact an entire community, other than to be concerned about a matter that only personally impact the individual. Never picked that up on the ground at all. And I was very impressed and happy for that. Obviously, there's a communication gap. There's a communication gap between the top of the constituency, the middle, and the ground. And what happens in most cases is that because that communication has a gap, it now leave an opening for people to behave a particular way. But the good thing is, I think these things are repairable. I think that these things are being addressed. And I'm hoping that the next time we come back and to report to you guys, we can say to you that all those issues have been resolved, and the member of parliament, the council caretakers are on one accord, and everything is moving in the right direction. Once that gap is fixed, all that you're hearing about negative will be gone. I bet you my last dollar. The problem is communicating. Like I said today in front of the constituents and the MP, that it is not that the MP is not doing what they ought to do, but in most cases, they are the only ones who know about it. So the party's achievement is their best bet to get re-elected. But if you don't tell your story, how are people going to know? If you don't get out there on the edges and byways and tell the story of the Jamaica Labour Party, then how a person is going to know? So you see, there's work cut out for all of us, right? I'm gonna touch this one finally. The interview with Dr. Chang, where he mentioned something to the effect that he's not surprised of the polling numbers for Westmoreland. I'm gonna take a break. When I come back, I'm gonna address that final one, and then we get out of here. It's a short evening this evening, eh? So we'll come back, we're gonna talk about it. The quote from Dr. Horace Chang when we come back. Stick and stay. Don't move.
It's time to come back. Back to adventurous. Being curious. Spontaneous. Back to where it all began. Dare to be bold. To be fantastic. Come back to the vibe that comes alive in Jamaica.
All right, welcome back, folks, and thank you. We're in the final segment. We're going to talk about what the JLP General Secretary said during an interview where he made mention something to the effect that Westmoreland is not surprising with how the poll numbers came out. No. Let me just explain something. First of all, had I been the GenSec, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it. I would not make those utterances if I was the GS. But let me ask you this. Do you think that the General Secretary is wrong? That is the $63,000 or the $230,000 question. Is he wrong? What he's saying, is he out of his mind? Is he wrong? Because I don't think anybody can beat Dr. Chang on what he said as being factually incorrect. What I would argue with the Honorable Doc on is whether or not he should have said it. That would be my discussion with him. That is where he and I would part company, as to whether or not he should have said it. Knowing the type of work that has been going on down there. So I would disagree with Dr. Chang on that. I believe that the work that the persons in the West are doing must be recognized, and we cannot demotivate our people. You can't put your hands up and just play dead. Can't do that. We have to fight. We have to teach our people to fight. We have to motivate them to fight. I think it's important for Westmoreland to be a part of the prosperity when everything is said and done. And for them to be a part of it, we need to ensure that they have a say at the wheels. right? So had I been Dr. Chang, I wouldn't have said it. I don't believe it was the right thing to say, nor is it the right time to say it either. No, I'm hoping that very soon discussion will be had to settle that unease among Laborites who believe that the GenSec just throw some cold water in them face. Right? All right. So, again, folks, this is not going to be a long evening. We're going to wrap it. And we're going to look forward to next week when we will be coming to you live. Next week, we're going to come to you live from the Era Council 4 meeting. Era Council 4 meeting. And this, according to what I'm hearing, is going to be a big one. One that is loaded with information. So, I'll see you all next week. We're going to be on the ground again. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop supporting the people of Western Jamaica, Westmoreland in particular, because we believe that it is better for the Jamaica Labour Party to maintain state power, and that will assist the people in the West for a better life. Renisha, how you doing, my dear? Anthony Evening, blessings to you, my brother. Renisha is saying that Westmoreland was one with very little support. Yeah. And I agree with you. I mean, a lot of persons are surprised. I think Doc is still in shock that we actually have Westmoreland. That's why he thinks it's a buy. But I think the people of Westmoreland, Renisha, your team and all the other teams down there, owe it within yourself now to get yourself organized so you can prove him wrong. I would sit on that ground. I would walk every single door down there to beg people to come out and vote, to motivate people to come out and vote, just to prove a point. And the point I want to prove is that Westmoreland can maintain being green. Danny Lawrence has one of the weakest seats down there, followed by Marlon Wilson. Last but not least, George Wright. Moreland's seat should have been the strongest seat down there. But like I said to you, there are some internal problems that they have to fix. I can't fix it. They will have to fix it. They, as in Moreland and his team, will have to fix these problems. People don't want any more promises. They want their problems to be fixed. So let's do it. All right, Rose Powell. Come to Falmouth too. We need to talk. Yeah, well, there are some issues there. There are some similarities between the two seats, to be honest with you. There are some similarities there with the whole councillor MP relationship. You know, that is, a lot of people don't understand, you know, when we talk about the party having some issues with communication and all that, the nucleus of the communication problem within the party is because of the issues between councillors and councillor caretakers versus MPs. That is the real issue. Because there are councillors and councillor caretakers who don't speak to their members of parliament. That is where the problem lies. My good friend would say, that is it. So we will have to work overtime to fix some of these things from internally. If you remember, folks, it was internal conflict that kept the Jamaica Labour Party in opposition for 18 and a half years. Can we afford to go back there? Absolutely not. So let's get it right this time, folks. Ian McCook, blessings to you. Rick Faulkner, blessings on you. Daniel McFarling, big up yourself, my brother. I will see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Go ahead and share the program. Tell a friend that next week, Sunday, we'll be live at the Era Council 4, where we will talk up the things and we will get the necessary assistance for the constituents who need it. Have yourself a blessed evening. One love.